Elasticity is one of the most important concepts that we cover in AS economics, and it's a theory which we come back to again and again as we move through the course. So it's a really good way of getting some quite high-level evaluation into your answers. So this first video is just going to look really at what elasticity is, and I'm then going to do a series of little videos looking at different types of elasticity and how we actually use these elasticity values and concepts to refer to particular product markets. So we know that economics primarily is the study of cause and effect relationships. So we know that that something happens in an economy and that has wider effects. And in a lot of cases, these relationships are relatively predictable. For instance, we know that if the price of something rises, the cause, then the effect of that will be that there will be less of that good demanded. There will be a contraction of demand. We saw that in an earlier video. So economics is full of these little cause and effect relationships, and building up these cause and effect relationships is the skill that is referred to in the exams as analysis. And it's a really key skill to develop. This kind of, as a result of something happening, something else happens. But to actually just say that there is this very predictable chain of events would make economics not really very applicable in the real world, because the real world things don't really work as simply and as reliably as that. And particularly, we don't know necessarily how big the effect is going to be of any particular thing happening. So we don't know how big the effect is going to be as a result of whatever it is that's causing it. So it may well be actually that whatever causes this change really only has a very small effect. So actually the size of the effect would be relatively small compared to the size of the cause, and therefore that may make it that may make it less useful, less important as an economic relationship. Alternatively, obviously, the effect could be quite large. So the effect of the relationship could actually be very large. So whatever is being done as the cause of this change, it generates a very substantial effect. And the power of elasticity is that it tells us the relative size of the change, and that's really what elasticity is all about. So elasticity, summed up in a single sentence, really is the responsiveness of one variable to a change in something else. So when I'm teaching this to my pupils, I always really emphasize the use of this word whenever you are referring to elasticity. So whenever you're talking about elasticity in your answer, whenever you mention it in a sentence, you should always follow it up with an explanation in terms of the responsiveness. So elasticity is telling us if we change one thing, the cause, how big is the change on the effect? And that's really what elasticity will do. Now, in your AS studies, there will be 4 types of elasticity, 4 of these cause and effect relationships that you will need to analyze using elasticity. There are many more elasticity variables that you can think about. Really, any 2 things which have a cause and effect relationship can be analyzed using the concept of elasticity. But as far as AS economics is concerned, there are 4. So the 4 relationships that you will need to be able to apply elasticity to are these 4. So just working our way through them here. The first one that we have here, the first relationship that you need to be able to analyse, and probably the relationship that in A-level economics at least you need to have the greatest understanding of, is the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded of that good. So what this basically tells us is how responsive is the quantity demanded, how responsive is this to a change in the price. So how responsive is the quantity demanded to a change in price? And that's really useful information for a business to have. It tells them a lot about the nature of their product and what they should do with their pricing strategies. But we'll come to that in a later video. The second elasticity that you need to consider is called income elasticity of demand, and we continue to look at how something is affecting the quantity demanded. So this is still our effect, a change in the quantity demanded, but the thing causing the change this time is different. So rather than previously when we focused on how a change in price will influence the quantity demanded, now we think about how a change in consumer income may affect the amount that they buy of a particular good. And again, as you can probably imagine, there are a number of goods where if you earn more money, that has a really big impact on how much of a particular product you buy. There are certain other products where a change in income really has quite a small effect. So, for instance, if we were to take fine wines, something like that, the demand for those will be very elastic to income. If you earn more money, you'll buy a lot more fine wine. Something like milk is going to be much less responsive. If you earn substantially more, that doesn't mean you're going to buy gallons and gallons and gallons of milk. It doesn't work that way. So the income, the second one there, tells us about how the demand responds to a change in your income. There are some goods even where actually if your income goes up, you tend to buy less of those goods. You can think here about supermarket savers products that actually, as you earn more, you stop buying those products and you trade up to better ones. So there's a lot going on there with the relationship between income and demand. The third one looks very similar to the first, but the difference here is the price that we're talking about changing. So this price here is not the price of the good that we are thinking about, it's the price of a related good. So we're talking about the quantity demanded of one good and how the quantity demanded of one good can be affected by a change in the price of some other good. And we often talk about this in terms of products which either people buy together, what we call complementary goods, or goods which people buy in place of one another, what we call substitute goods. Again, we will consider these in a bit more detail in a future video, but there are lots of goods in economics where they are either bought together or they are bought as an alternative to one another. We consider those to be related to one another in some way, and therefore that third elasticity tells us about the nature of that relationship between these two goods and how strong that relationship is. And the fourth one, the only one which doesn't deal with demand, you can see here that now we're talking about the quantity supplied. This one is slightly different. A lot of people struggle to get their heads around this one to begin with. This one is about how a change in price will influence the amount of the good being produced, the amount of the good being supplied by businesses. So the top three are all about consumption and how consumers alter their buying habits depending on these various things. This last one, this fourth one here, this one is dealing with firms. So just to clarify that. So these ones up here, these ones are related to the impact of consumers. This one down here is related to firms. So a slightly different focus on that last one, but each of them tells us a very important element of the bigger picture of the economic cause and effect going on here. So understanding elasticity is really crucial. Ultimately, the question that you to answer, and it enables you to get a lot more evaluation into your answer, is that in economics, as you will find as you move through the course, you will use this as evaluation a great deal. It depends. The outcome depends on a number of things, and elasticity is one of the most powerful tools that we have to assess the nature of that dependency. So making sure that you get your head around elasticity early on in the course is a really good way to make sure that you are going to be securing good analysis and good evaluation marks pretty much throughout. The next few videos are going to actually deal with those 4 different types of elasticities, and we're going to think about what each of them mean.